Today I've got a short story for you. In fact, a myth from Western African mythology. It's called How Anansi Brought Stories to the World. So get ready, I'm going to narrate this story now. Here we go. How Anansi brought stories to the world. A long time ago, there were no stories in the world. Nobody made up tales about fantastic beasts or magical beings who roamed the skies. No stories to make the children laugh when they were sad. No stories to scare the grown-ups as they sat around the fire at night eating their food. As there were no stories to hold them together, people forgot where they came from and who they were. Who was Grandpa? How did Grandma smile? What did the river where Papa used to swim look like? Was Mama's hair always so long? The time when the lion came to the village, how did the elders drive him away? Nobody knew because people had no stories to tell. It was Nyan Konpon, the sky god, who had all the stories in the world. But he was selfish and did not want to share them. One day, Kwaku Anansi, the spider, went to the sky god to buy his stories. Anansi was known as a troublemaker, but he also helped people once in a while when he was in the mood for it. When he went to Nyan Konpon, he bent low and greeted him. "I've come from far to see you. I want to buy your stories," he said. "What makes you think I'm going to sell the stories to you?" Nyan Konpon said, bursting into laughter. Nyan Konpon told him that many people had come from great towns to buy his stories, but that he had never budged. Anansi, however, was confident about his ability to persuade Nyan Konpon. He said, "Everything has a price. Tell me how much your stories cost." Nyan Konpon was amused by the audacity of the spider. He thought for a while and said, "My stories can be bought if you bring me Onini the python, Osebo the leopard, Momboro the hornet, and Moishia the fairy." Nyan Konpon was sure that Anansi would throw his legs up in the air and say that this was not possible. But the spider merely smiled and said, "I will do as you say and bring them all." The sky god simply pretended to yawn and nodded his head. Now Anansi had to come up with tricks to get all those the sky god wanted in exchange for the stories. First, he went to where Onini, the giant python, lived. He was long and thick with glittering black diamonds on his back. Anansi knew that the python was very proud of his size. And so the clever spider said loudly, "I know Onini is long and there's nobody longer than him, but my wife also says that he is not even as long as the branch of a palm tree." Hearing this, Onini rose from the branch of the tree where he was resting and hissed. "I am indeed longer than the branch of a palm tree," he said in anger. Anansi shrugged and said, "Let's test that out then." He told the python that he must stretch himself out against the branch to prove his claim. When Onini did so, Anansi said, "But you must be absolutely straight. Here, let me tie you up with this rope so you don't curl up and we can really see your size." Foolish Onini agreed, and in no time Anansi captured him. He took the python to the sky god. Nyan Konpon was surprised, but he was sure that Anansi would fail with the others. "The leopard, ha! You'll never catch the leopard," declared Nyan Konpon. But Anansi had a plan for Osebo too. When the leopard was out hunting, Anansi dug a deep hole in the ground. Osebo fell inside and growled in rage. Anansi went close to the hole and said, "Oh no, Osebo, I must get you out. Here, let me spin a web for you. You hold on to it and come out." Poor Osebo did not see through Anansi's cunning, and he allowed himself to be trapped in the web. Once Anansi lifted him out of the hole, off he took him to Nyankonpon. This time the sky god was a bit nervous, but he still did not lose hope that Anansi would fail in the next two tasks. "You have to get me Moboro, the hornet. He's no simpleton to fall for your tricks," said the sky god. Anansi knew just what to do. He went near the hornet's nest with a calabash filled with water. He poured some of it over a banana leaf that he held over his head and the hornet's nest. "It's raining, it's raining," Anansi shouted. When the hornet came out of his nest, he saw the water droplets falling out of the banana leaf and believed Anansi. "Get into this calabash and you'll be safe," said the spider. When the hornet got inside, Anansi quickly closed the calabash and took it to the sky god. Nyon Konpon was shocked to see the hornet, but he still wouldn't give up. "Moesia, the fairy, is clever. She will never believe your lies," said the sky god. Anansi knew that Nyon Konpon said the truth. Moesia was indeed a clever fairy, and so to catch her he made a doll and covered it with gum. He knew that Moesia had a temper, and this was his best shot. He put the doll under a tree where the fairies played and also put some yam in a bowl in front of it. When Moesia came to play, she saw the bowl and was immediately tempted. She ate up the yam and thanked the doll, thinking it was another fairy. When the doll did not respond, Moesia thought her to be rude. "Can't you answer when someone thanks you?" asked the angry fairy. When the doll still said nothing, Moesia hit her. But oh no, her hands were now stuck to the doll. Anansi quickly grabbed the doll and Moesia and took them to the sky god. When Nyon Konpon saw Anansi, his shoulders slumped. The trickster spider had indeed won the challenge fair and square. "Well done, Anansi," said the god. "I present to you all my stories. From now on, they'll be known as yours and not the sky god's stories." The delighted Anansi ran back to earth with the stories, and since then, the people have always had a tale to tell when they met each other. So that was the story about Anansi. Those of you who don't know, Anansi is a recurring character in several West African and even Caribbean stories. In some cases, he is considered to be the spirit of knowledge and even stories. And in Akan language, spoken by the Ashanti people of Ghana, Anansi means spider. As you must have noticed in this particular story, Anansi often takes the form of a trickster. It's a character in folktales who is clever and often using different tricks outside morality to get what he wants. But the symbolism of Anansi, this character, is even greater than these stories. It became a symbol of resistance and inspiration, especially for African people, those who were taken as slaves in real life. Because, as you see, Anansi is somebody who's weaker, but because of his capability, he's trying to get the better of those who are more powerful than him. And so they drew a lot of inspiration from this character. And that's how the story of Anansi goes.